And my name is John Kiarie, a member of parliament in the Kenyan Interparliamentary Union delegation. And with me also is a young member of parliament from Kenya, the Honorable Naisula Lesuda, and I speak on behalf of the Kenyan delegation. I will first make a report that Kenya is coming straight out of a general elections that were conducted in August. And what is amazing is that the elections were very peaceful, and it must be remembered that in 2007, Kenya plunged into a crisis after the election when we experienced post-election violence. But after this election, we've got to commend the young people in Kenya, because mostly it is young people who are involved in conflict and violence. But this time round, the young Kenyans actually stood up for peace. And even in a very hotly contested election, Kenya has been peaceful after the elections. It is in this election that Kenya was able to increase the representation of young people in parliament. The number of young people in Kenya, in the Kenyan parliament, is at an all-time high. It is also during this election that Kenya was able to elect a very young member of parliament. The youngest member of parliament in Kenya today is a lady by the name Honorable Lynette, who is 23 years old. And she was elected with over 200,000 votes, beating 8 other contestants in a constituency that represents, in a county that has 6 constituencies. So that was quite commendable. In this parliament, the young people in the Kenya parliament are caucusing under a caucus called as Kenya Young Parliamentarians Association, which has been a very vibrant caucus. It was not very vibrant in the last parliament, but it has been renewed. And with new vigor, new energy, we know that young people will be participating more in the parliament of Kenya. Finally, I am 43 years old, and this is going to be among the last IPU delegations that I'll be joining the young parliament. And so I have a challenge for the young parliamentarians who shall be left here. And what I have to say to you is that youth is fleeting. It is like pregnancy. One day you're young, the next day you're considered old. I was the youngest man in the room a few years ago, and now I am the youngest old man in the room. So I would like to tell you that you have to take advantage. You have to take advantage of the time that you have. And for you, the new generation, the work for you has already been defined. And how you take up this job will also define you. Luckily, you have great instruments, and especially the instruments that are offered by the 4th Industrial Revolution, the digital age, where ideas and data shall be currency. Make good use of it. Make sure that the youth agenda is going to go beyond borders. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you for you. Maintenant, passons la